Hello, welcome everyone to today's show. This is the BAG show, and I am your host, Lawana Parker. And remember, this show is all about you, the authors, the aspiring authors, the wannabe authors, and those someday I'm going to write that book authors. If you have any questions, please send them to me uh, for me to answer. And if you'd like to be on the show, love to have you. Just send an email to lwrepark@gmail.com and put BAG in the subject line so that you can receive priority answering. Because I get a lot of emails. I see the BAG, I'll go to that first. All right. So today I'm really excited. We've had her on before, and we told you we're bringing her back because we had some technical glitches. But today we're going to try again, and hopefully none of those glitches will interrupt the show. So I am really pleased to have none other than the infamous Maureen Stephenson on the show today with me. Maureen, I have been following you. I absolutely love the courage and bravery you have in showing us some of the things that you do. My goodness, I should have looked so well when I was your age.
Wow, thank you for the compliment. I try.
Well,
I
you
really
do some
try.
wonderful things. Now, tell us about that book because we had some technical interruption, and anyone who may have missed the name and what the book was about, I don't want them to miss out on what you have to share. So, tell us the name of your book and a little of what the book is all about.
Okay, so my book is called The Runaway. It's called Run to Healing and Finish Life Strong. So this book pretty much document who I am. If you really read this book, it will tell you my journey and where I am, who I am, my core values, and some of the things that I believed in. And also, it will shed light on some of the things that I've been through. So, the book is kind of how I end up in America. And I literally said I run away here because it's literally true. And so I think that started my running, and then I'm still running physically, mentally, and holistically. I'm still running the journey of my race to finish life strong. And the book is just about truth. It's about encouraging women, or not just women, just generally anyone who have gone through what we call setbacks, then that they can come back and just once they go through that deep dark hole, sometimes the hole is too much and we don't want to go there, so we go on the surface. And what I find out, when you go on the surface and you don't take care of what inside, the insides keep eating you out. It doesn't care how you dress it up, right?
Mhm.
And so kind of what this book is about, it's about dressing up, it's about truth, it's about how you can find transformation. And sometimes, I mean, transformation doesn't mean you lose 10 pounds, but transformation means that you find yourself at the end of whatever you're looking for. So, yeah, that's a little bit about the book. It's about me being in an abusive relationship and my testimony of how God brought me out of it. And a lot of
Is
people
that
were asked.
is that what inspired you to write the book? You mentioned you were in a
Um, what inspired me to write the book was, I would say, different things. One was that my daughter was getting older and she was asking a lot of questions about the why we came here, and based on how she remembered us in Jamaica, and then she was a child, and I didn't want to burden her down with that. So now that she was an adult, she was starting to ask some questions. So I think one of the things is that before other people tells her, I would I wanted to tell her myself. So that's one of the other reasons. The other reason was because of my nightmarish. I was having like several different nightmares, and just was manifesting in my sleep. And my husband was, I was now in a new relationship, and then my husband used to like have to hold me and wake me up at nights to like shake me and like, oh, it's just a dream, it's just a dream.
Mhm.
So I didn't want my past to ruin my present, if
Mhm.
that makes sense. And
I
so I
understand.
decided that, yeah, it wasn't fair to him to get my stuff. And so I wanted to clear up my stuff so that when I go to bed, I could just sleep. Right. So
Well, you're
that
fortunate
was,
you have someone who's so loving and understanding, you know. That means a lot too. That's great to have someone out there because it helps with the healing process, I would imagine.
yeah, but then sometimes it's humiliating because you know when you date and then when you go into a new relationship, there are certain things that you probably don't want the person to find out about. And then you keep that in. But I realized that the more I keep it in, the more it was wanting to ruin what I have now. So I
Mhm.
was like, man, I left it. That's why I left it so that it could be in the past, right? And so I really wanted to go in, leave it in the past, and not let it comes back into this new relationship. So that was one reason why I wrote the book. And then when I wrote the book, I find out that I was free. I was free to talk about it. Um, so one of the first person that read my book was my husband, and he read the book like within like a day or two, and then he was like, oh, so that's why this, so that's why that. So I think he understood a lot of my sayings and a lot of my queers. He understand them better. And now we could talk openly, we could talk honest, and we could talk real. And so yeah, so that was a huge burden that lifted, and freedom. I was
Mhm.
able to step out of that whole box that I have, and then stepping into this life of freedom where my body become lighter, my shoulder become lighter. And now I was able to talk about these things and laughed about them. Like, man, why was and so yeah,
Isn't
so
it
that's
wonderful how writing these things down on putting them on paper, it just seems to free you. You know, I've mentioned that before, that anytime I put something on paper, something that's bothering me,
mhm.
it just seems to free me up. It's like I'm letting go. I'm talking to God in a sense. I'm telling him about all the things that's happening. And it's like once I give him that information, he just sets me free and I don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah, it was so freeing because I realized that the body is a storehouse, and what we store into the body, it stays there. And if you don't empty the storehouse, the burden on that storehouse burden you down. And so I wanted, and then another thing, so many things happened in this whole thing, right? And
Mhm.
then I became sick, and then I was looking back in my past and like, oh my God, some of the things that um, made me sick was in my past. It was in there. That
Mhm.
myself keep holding on to those things, and I was like, man, I don't, I don't want to, I don't want to be a living dead. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
I don't want to be living and then dead, right? I wanted to live. I want life back in my bones. I want
Mhm.
feelings back. I want that goodness. And I want it back. And then I was like, man, yeah. So,
It seems
that
to
was,
me that you've gotten it back. I mean, some of the places, I don't know where you go when you're doing your walking and exercises and things, but the scenery is beautiful. and some of it just looks so rocky, and I think, what is she doing in all this heat?
Yeah, like, yeah, but one
Oh,
thing,
you're
when I
doing.
finished writing the book and stuff like that, it was freedom. I
Mhm.
have never experienced that level of freedom. I was now free, like even when I was talking to my sister and she says, Maureen, some things you don't talk about, you take it to your grave. And I said, I disagree. I agree to disagree. I think some things take you to your grave quicker if you don't talk about them because they're in your body and they're killing you.
Mhm.
So that is one of the reasons that, man, now I'm like, nothing can define me again. I find myself. So I think writing this book had led me to a lot of freedom, and then I started to go into holistic health from my other cancer and all of that stuff that I encountered. And
Mhm.
then I didn't want to be an hypocrite, right? So I want my clients who I talk to understand that I'm not an hypocrite. I've been through some crazy stuff in my life. I've been through some what people would call life defining stuff. And I want them to see that if I survive, they too can survive. But there is a way that we have to get into the body and then pull the pain out. We have to put it out and then put it under our feet and then walk on that pain. So that those her past doesn't define us, but we define our past and we define and make a pathway for the future. So I think that this is what I wanted for the book. And in the back of the book, it says, I think it's important for other women in abusive relationship to learn to hear my testimony and see that where I am today. I am all right. I have survived and they too will survive. Also, I'm not embarrassed to admit my past. I spent the last 16 years avoiding this painful subject. And I thought about, I came down this road asking God to find me a solution. I really just wanted to feel better. I didn't want it to look better. But when you ask God for one thing, He multiply them and give you more than what you can ask for, right? That abundantness, right?
Mhm.
And so I think it's only God who can provide what you didn't ask or imagine. And so that is my conclusion. And this is just my personal belief. I'm not imposing my personal belief on anyone else, but I just wanted to say, being able to admit stuff, being able to go there, being able to take the hurt out, because it's really hurtful. Like I remember the lady who was my coach when I invested in the book, right?
Mhm.
Um, there are days when I called her and I said, I'm not writing this damn book, it's too painful. It is too painful. And I remember one time she says, Maureen, it's not about you. Get yourself out of it. It's not about you. This is more bigger than you. It's about the freedom that you're going to get. And I could imagine that. And for sometimes I'm like, oh man, she's so right? So when I hear people like, man, the investment is too expensive, I said, you're not really investing in the investment. You're investing in yourself. And that is priceless. And so that's one of the things that I also learned that when I used to say like things are expensive, I don't say that anymore because when you invest in yourself, it's such a joy that keeps giving and keeps giving and keeps giving. And then, so that was my experience. So, yeah.
Wow, that's incredibly brave of you. Um, you mentioned about being in a abusive relationship, and I know that sometimes women have stayed in that situation for years, and some never leave it. What gave you the courage, the strength to get out of that situation? Are you?
I've only seen your mouth. I didn't hear the question.
Oh, I apologize. I was curious because you had mentioned that you were in an abusive relationship, and I was wondering, how did you get yourself out of that? Because we hear so many stories of women who get caught up in it, and some of them never get out of it.
Um, if I understand the question, you're asking what do I have any advice to give to women who are in an abusive relationship?
Yeah, how to get out of it, how to have the strength to get out of that, to
I
walk away.
I think I would say make a plan, because all through that relationship, I knew one day I was going to get out. I didn't know when I would get out, but I knew I would get out. And I always says, one day I am going to get out of it. So for me, I was always planning. I didn't know how, but I would say make a plan. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do, because people ask, why do you stay in it? And I would ask them, why do you stay in your relationship, right? Because you don't love you love the person, you don't love their actions, right? You don't love what they're doing to you. But for some reason, when we do start the relationship, we love the person. And especially when we have kids in them. So I would say make a plan. It might not come through today, but make a sensible plan so that when you get out, you don't have to look back. And talk to people, talk to your friends, talk to talk about it, talk to them and let them know what is happening to you, so they too can help you. Not necessarily give you crazy advice, because you yourself has to know when you have enough, when you have enough and you can't take enough. But if it's somebody who is beating you day in, day out, you have to make a plan to say, oh, I'm going to exit it, and try, pray to God. Ask God to give you the courage to, I remember praying several times to God to give me the courage, and also to know that when you pray and you get the answers, then you have to take action. Because some of us, like, we're scared. Like, I moved away from Jamaica with a one-way ticket straight here. I was scared as hell. I didn't know the next person in Sacramento. And I came. And for the last year, the first year, it was hard. I cried every day. So remember that you're going to go through it mentally, emotionally, physically, the withdrawal symptoms. But once you believe that you have a God, a God that can provide for you, and you pray, but you pray with action, application, and you remember that this is going to be a tough road. It's not going to be a thing that you get out from. You might never get over it, because I just found out that I never got over mine. I went into different relationship, but it was still there. And sometimes I still have nightmares. Sometimes I can physically feel it in my body, like, but mentally you get better. Mentally, physically, you get physical strong. So just remember that it's not going to be an easy road, but once God take you through it and show you a path, then you have to activate that path. You have to get up. You have to remember that it's the life you save could very be your own, and it's your life you're saving. And if you have kids, remember that you have to set an example for your kids. So if they themselves find themselves in that relationship, they can say, "My mom did it and survived," right? So for me, I wanted to made sure that if my daughter ever finds herself in an abusive relationship, I am the perfect example that you don't have to look further, right? So it might not be something that you gain now, but along the way, you're saving girls. People will look up and say to you that, oh, you know, so and so did it, so can I. Because
Well,
for me, I left business, I left my family, I left everything. All I grabbed was the only person that meant the world to me was my daughter. And that's the only person that I remember that, well, if I eat stone, we're going to eat stones. But there is a God, and He provides for the birds of the air, so He will provide for us. And then you get through it one day at a time. There are days when you wish you want to go back to the person because you're climatized to it, you're used to it. It's like a drug. You keep going back for more. But you have to remember that it comes with withdrawal syndrome too, and you can survive. You can withdraw. You can be happy again. You can be healthy. And when that time comes for you to get back into a relationship, you'll definitely know what you don't want. Because I always tell my husband, I may not know what I want, but that person showed me what I definitely don't want.
well, thank you for being such a wonderful inspiration, not only for your daughter, but for so many other women who hear your story or read your book to know that they can get out of those situations. They don't have to stay there and be abused and physically that way, and sometimes even mentally. Um, I I just wow, I admire you. That's all I can say. I met you what about 3 years ago, and even in that span of time, I have seen the growth in you from the quiet woman who used to come into meetings and sit there and observe everything that was going on, and every now and then you might speak up to the woman now who says whatever it is that she needs to say. And I just think it's just wonderful to see that kind of growth in you. And as I say, you are a wonderful inspiration, especially for us older women. You let us know that we just because we've added a few years on, we can still do. And so you help those women as well. They may not have gone through what you've gone through, but women, when they get to be a certain age, they start thinking, oh, I'm not of any use anymore. No one's interested in me. I can't do this. I can't start my life over. But you did. You not only went through the abuse, you had, is it okay for me to mention your medical situation um, that you went through and you conquered that? And I'm just in awe of the woman that you are. So to get us off of that and kind of lift the mood, I've been noticing that design on your wall back there. Can you tell us something about that? Are you able to hear me okay?
On my wall,
Yeah, what is that design back there? Looks like a tree.
oh, it's my on the wall. It's my key to heart has to look after your mental wellness tree, your mental health. Because I was working at an institution and I found that a lot of my co-worker at the time was really maxing out their mental health in terms of they go from one job to the other, 2 or 3 jobs, and then they would be total. And so I asked a friend of mine who was a co-worker to draw me this tree and to talk about mental health. I wasn't even into holistic health yet, right? But I see so many people struggle between physical health and mental, not being able to tap into the mental. So I draw this tree, and then I had I called it a party. We had a woman party, and just to talk about mental health and physical health. And when I realized that a lot of us was trained on in physical health, but we weren't trained on mental health. And it's the mental health that drives the physical health, right? So one doesn't go without the other. So I brought this tree, and then every one of my seminar, I always put it on the tree, and let a woman put a heart on it and committed to do something great for their mental health. At least one. Not overwhelming, just one thing. You put your name on the tree, sign to it, and then take a picture of the tree and remind yourself that as the tree in the forest stands up, and if you treat it with nutrition, then it's hard to fall down, right? Most of the time it doesn't fall down. It's always there green and blossoming and flourishing. So that is kind of one of the statements that I wanted women to understand, or just anyone to understand, that your roots, you have to start from the root up, because your root is what your ground is, that foundation. And if you take care of your root, then your branches will blossom, your branches will expand, your branches will green, it will flourish with abundance. So that's my tree, and that's what I put in here to just remind me when I get overwhelmed, or when I think I'm getting overwhelmed, that I have to go back to who I am. I have to go back to the core of who I am, and what grounds me, and what I want to get from my body. Do I want to get exhausted or fatigue, or do I want to get vibrancy and vitality? And so every day, my tree is just a reminder to myself. And when I do workshops, I take it there, and that of the women committed to doing one thing for their mental health and one thing for their heart health, because so much
I like the idea of what it stands for, because I think that is so true. If you have your foundation, your core values and beliefs, and you get strong in those, then you just blossom. The branches start to grow, and I love it. Great idea. Well, I see we are coming to the close of our show, and I want to remind you guys that Maureen has written The Runaway. You can find it on Amazon.com, but I'm sure Maureen would prefer that you come to her and get it from her. Then you can get a signed autographed copy. So we will put the link in the group, so that you can see and you can order it if you like a copy of it. Maureen, can you tell us very quickly, you have anything coming up that maybe some workshops or something that the audience might be interested in? I think you're having technical problems again.
Well, I just launched my program. For like 2 years, I was working on a program, and I want the program to be all inclusive. I just didn't want to work on one aspect of the body. I want to work on the total woman, or the total being. And so I just launched my program. It is called The Biggest Gainer. And the biggest gainer is that when you start taking care of yourself, you don't lose anything. I hear a lot of women come to me, and the first thing they tell me is that they want to lose weight. And I ask them, did your body tell you that it wants to lose weight? And they look at me like I'm crazy. And I look at them, and I'm like, because sometimes the body don't really want to lose weight. It wants nourishment. And so if you nourish your body, then you don't have to worry about weight, because the body will lose the weight itself if you nourish the body. So the biggest gainer is about finding you behind you. As the woman, find you behind you.
Make sure that you let us know when you go to launch that, okay, so that we can let everyone else know about your program when it comes up.
Right. So I launched it already, and it's on my website. It's crwfitness.com. It's called The Biggest Gainer. And I'm having like $52 off for this until my birthday, because my birthday is December 8th, and that will be 52. So I'm giving $52 on that program. So if you know of any women who are looking to find a coach, we're going to be talking about mental health. We're going to talk about physical health. We're going to talk about gut health. We're going to talk about the thyroid gland. We are going to talk about adrenal fatigue. What is adrenal fatigue? How do we get back from adrenal fatigue? We're going to talk about estrogen, estrogen decline in women, hormone balancing. So it comes from, and then we're going to do stretching. We're going to do some movement exercise based on the condition that you're going through. And so we're going to be right in the program, especially for you, for what you're going through. Because some people just wanted to put their blood sugar back in balance, or their high blood pressure, or their A1C, right? And so we'll give you the food, we'll give you the support for that. So that's the biggest gain, is to gain who you are, is to gain an understanding of self, so that self can transform self, and it keeps transforming self over and over again, because we're not a piece of a puzzle, we're a complete puzzle. And once you get and put those puzzles together, I always remember when I was working, we used to do some puzzles of great puzzles of New York. If you leave out a piece of the puzzle, we cannot put the glue on it because it couldn't stand up, right? So it's about connecting all that puzzle so that you can stand up straight. Your shoulder can drop, and you can vibrate vibrancy as you go on through the menopausal years. So that's kind of what the program is about.
I'm looking forward to when your program starts, so please make sure you let me know. I, in turn, will let everyone else know about it. So thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, that we have come to the close of our show today. Again, I want to thank you, Maureen, for coming back on the show again. We do still have a little bit of technical issue, but I think we will be okay, and there are other opportunities in the future for you to also come back, especially when you get this program going, because we want to make sure that everyone knows about it so they can come and take part in it. I'm looking forward to it myself.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to doing a lot of things in the new year with you, and coming up for my birthday, the fashion show.
Oh, yes, the fashion show.
Be there.
That's going to be fantastic.
So that
Definitely
you can your guests and stuff like that, so they can join in and just come and have a great time and laugh, and talk, and get to dress up a little, because that we have done.
Well, just all the information.
Thank you so very much. I'm so humbled that you chose me to be on your program today, and I'm so very grateful. So thank you. And to the VA audience, thank you for listening, and for those who are going to listen, thank you. I don't take this lightly. I consider it a privilege and an honor that you're going to watch the show, and I hope you get something from the conversation. So thank you so very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming back. That's it for today. We want to thank you for being a part of the show. We always appreciate, or I always appreciate the fact that you take time out of your busy schedule to listen to the program. So we expect to see you again next week. And next week, our guest will be Jackie Howard, who is going to share with us a new book that she has out. So remember to return again. And Maureen, we again thank you for being a part of the show, and everyone else. And remember, when you're out there in the world, stay safe and keep the faith. Until next time.
Thank you.
Bye.